Reverend Carlos Head, and today I want to talk with you about a subject that, building upon last week's message, God will when we will, and I was talking last week a little bit about the things that God expects us to do that we're seemingly waiting on Him to do. And I talked about wealth building as one of the things that many of us sit back and wait on God to provide us with, when there are things that we can do to assist or to place ourselves in positions where we're actually in the pursuit of wealth building. And I also talked about as it relates to God will when we will, from that whole mantra that even in our relationships, that there are things that we can do to actively participate in the improvement of our relationships, instead of sitting back and thinking that God will do things that we're not willing to do. And if we want peace and harmony in our relationships, that there are things that we have to do in order to produce the peace and the harmony that we want to see in our relationships. And that led to my thinking, just building on that particular message, and thinking about the fact that so many of us would like peace and harmony in our relationship, but that so many of those same relationships are representative of discord, anger, frustration, in many cases on the verge of breakup, and are being pulled apart for a number of reasons. And I want to talk a little bit today, again, from that same mantra that God will when we will, and I want to continue to deal with our romantic relationships, because again, I think that the family unit, the relationship between male and female, probably represents the most fundamental relationships, the most essential relationships that we will ever enter into in this earth. They are the relationships that spawn life. Whether that life is a renewed sense of life as a result of love that you found with another person, whether it actually spawns human life through the procreation that produces a child. So again, because divorces and breakups are seemingly at all-time highs, I think it's important that we continue to, or that I continue to speak messages that, serve to strengthen the bond between a man and a woman in terms of our relationship, or our romantic or intimate relationships. Again, and in thinking about this message, what came to me as I was thinking about today's message was a particular scripture that says, "In all your gettings, to get knowledge and to get understanding." And it was intriguing that particular scripture came to me, and I think it came to me probably synonymous with the time that the title to the message was being spoken into my spirit, and I could, that particular scripture kept coming. "In all your gettings, get understanding." And in thinking about the male and the female romantic relationship, it made me realize how difficult we make things. And I think, again, I think a lot of the things that we do consciously, that contributes to things being difficult in our relationships. I think there are, on the flip side, I think that there's a lot of things that we do in creating mess in our relationship, in creating disharmony in our relationships, in creating stress in our relationships, in creating frustration in our relationships, simply based upon our lack of knowledge about the other sex. Again, I think that there are things that we do because we all come with baggage to whatever relationship we come, to. Doesn't mean that all that baggage is bad baggage, but it means that we all possess experiences that we bring with us in whatever relationship we are entering into. Whether those experiences are, tied to things that you saw when you were growing up via your mother and your father, whether they are, experience that you experienced in your own intimate and romantic relationships, whether they are things that you've heard, things that you read, things that you saw on TV, things that you shared with friends and colleagues. But we all come to relationships with our own set of baggage, and bringing that along with many of us, our lack of knowledge and understanding about the other sex makes life difficult unnecessarily, I believe, in our romantic relationships. Again, many of us know what we've experienced in our relationships. We know what we've heard. We know what we witnessed via our parents. And in many cases, we begin thinking that that information makes us experts in understanding the opposite sex. It makes us knowledgeable about the other sex. It makes us fully understandable of the other sex. Well, again, I think that there are things that we do that contribute to there not being the peace and harmony that we want in our relationships. I think there are those things that we do consciously. There are those things that we do unconscious because of ignorance. And I want to talk today a little bit about, and I know many of you will say that, having heard me say that, much of the chaos, much of the frustration, much of the stress, much of the discord and disharmony in your relationship is because of our lack of knowledge and understanding of the other sex. I know many of you will retort that, oh no, I know my husband, I know my wife, I know my boyfriend, I really know them, but again, I'm of the opinion that many of us have never fully engaged in the process of really being knowledgeable and understanding of the other sex. And that this largely contributes to why divorces are at all-time highs, to why breakups seem, almost inevitable in most relationships. And yet we wonder why breakups and divorces seem to be running rampant in our society. Well, that led me to, a question. And again, I often, pose questions to myself. And, when I'm thinking about, my interactions with others, and it led me to, almost a rhetorical question. How difficult is it to have peace? And again, I'm talking about peace and harmony in our romantic relationships so that we strengthen the bonds that hold us together. But how difficult is it to have peace with a species or with the opposite sex when you don't understand the opposite sex? How difficult is it to have harmony with a person that you don't understand? And again, I know many of you, because you've spent time with that particular person that you're with, will, be able to make the statement, but oh no, I intimately know my mate. I really know her. But like most of us, I'll say again, we only know what we've seen. We only know what we've heard or what we've experienced with that person. And there's more to him or her than they've shared with you. There's things about them that are unconscious that they don't speak about, men and women, because we live in our species. I'm a man, so there are things about being a man that I don't feel like I have to articulate to my significant other to explain to her what being a man is all about, because again, she's not trying to be a man. But in the vein of trying to help her understand the makeup and the mentality and the psychology of a man, then it behooves me to stop taking for granted the things that I believe that she would know from experience. Because again, just as it is with me, other men have only shared what they decided to share. And what happens in most cases is, men included, we take pieces of information, pieces of what we've seen, pieces of what we've heard, pieces of what we've experienced, and we try to mesh all of that together to create a complete picture. And in most cases, those pictures that we've created are not accurate pictures. And then, our perceptions become our realities. And what we perceive to be true about the other sex becomes true to us. And when it becomes true to us, it's hard to convince us otherwise. So again, in an attempt to provide some seeds that I hope will lead to greater peace and harmony in your relationships, I'm going to talk today from the subject, the psychology and the makeup of a man. The psychology and the makeup of a man. And of all the things you've heard, all the things you've experienced with a man, as it relates to our psychology and makeup, ladies, I want you to understand that most of what you've seen, what you've heard, and what you have witnessed as it relates to our makeup and our psychology has in most cases only probably been byproducts of what a man's true psychology is. Again, you've probably heard cliches and catchphrases like you feed him and you be intimate with him and he'll love you for life. That a man's heart, that the way to a man's heart is through his belly. You probably heard it said that a man wants a lady in the streets but a freak in the bed. You've probably heard all sorts of cliches and catchphrases. But again, let me tell you the truth. And the truth is that the most simplest way to a man's heart is by understanding his psychology makeup. That it's not through feeding him. It's not even through being intimate with him. Because all those things are simply byproducts of his true psychology and makeup. And the true psychology of a man, the true makeup of a man, ladies, let me attempt to try to help you understand this so that, again, as the Bible says, that things should be so simple that even babes can understand the truth about why we do most of the things that we do, why we say most of the things that we say, why we seemingly place ourselves in the predicaments that we place ourselves in. You know, all of them, even the thoughts that we have, you know, to the words that we speak, to the things that we do, they are all the byproduct of our true nature in psychology. And that true nature and psychology is to be wanted. I can't say it any plainer that the true nature and psychology, the makeup of a man, and I imagine that maybe it's women as well, but the true psychology of why we do what we do, why we say what we say, why we have the thoughts that we have, why we, you know, interact in the way that we do, is all from a state of wanting to be wanted, if that makes sense. But let me explain that, you know, in what I'm talking about is not necessarily, you know, the desire to be wanted, you know, as it relates to, you know, an orphan child that is starving for love, you know, whose parents have abandoned him, and he desires to be wanted so that he can feel attached to something. No, that's not the desire to be wanted that I am referring to. I'm not referring to, you know, a desire to be wanted simply because it's convenient. No, that is not what I'm talking about either. You know, we don't, you know, I'm with you, so, you know, I guess I better want you because I've made the commitment to you now. No, that is not the desire of the, you know, the longing to be wanted that makes up our psychology. You know, that desire to be wanted is not a desire to be wanted out of pity. No. We again, that does nothing for a man to feel as if he's pitied, and because you're in this particular circumstance, and that I want you so that I can either help you, I can, you know, do this, or I can serve in this role, or I can serve in that. No, that's not the desire to be wanted that I am referring to. Men don't want to be wanted out of circumstances. You know, well, we've got 2 kids, and I might as well stay with you now, and you know, I might as well make the best of it because I'm not interested in destroying our family. No, that's not the desire to be wanted that I am referring to, but I am referring to the desire to be wanted from a purely animalistic place of passion. This is what drives a man. This is what drives our thoughts. This is what drives our words. This is what drives our behavior. To know emphatically that not because I have this, not because I look like this, not because I work here, not because I have these luxuries, not because I'm 6'2", not because I'm 220 pounds of chiseled muscle, but because there's an animalistic desire of passion that makes you almost insatiable to me, is why a man does what he does. I said yesterday that men are visual and that we're physical. Well, again, let me rephrase it. I said in the last message that I spoke to you as it relates to God will when we will, and I was referring to relationships. But in talking about that, I spoke to the fact that we are physical and that we're also visual. But partly why we're visual And let me back up here, because I want to make sure that you follow me in what I'm saying to you. I spoke about men in our psychology, and in understanding that there's a desire to be wanted from a animalistic place of pleasure, transitioning to why we do the things that we do, why we say the things that we say, why we find ourselves in the predicament that we find ourselves in, is partly because, as I was about to allude to, is that we are visual and we're physical. We like to look. We like to delight in that which we see. And we like to be physical or intimate with that which we pleasure through our lenses. And again, if one doesn't, ladies, if you don't understand this, then you will think that your man is just acting out just because he's a man. You will begin to think that all men are animals or dogs or hunters, or are not capable of being satisfied with what they have. But men are visual. We like pretty things. We like things that are a delight in our eyes. And because we are men, we like to possess, not from a lordship, or not from a master's perspective, or not making women or whatever that is that we possess subservient to us, but there's a desire to possess that which we delight in. This is why we'll see a car, whatever that car may be, that we delight in, and before long we have figured out a way to purchase that car. Well, the same thing with other luxuries like golf clubs, like like boats, like you name it, that seems to be purchases and activities that we engage ourselves in without a whole lot of thought. Just spur of the moment, we'll go out. But there's something about a man that makes him desire that which he's found pleasure in, because we're visual. And in that desire or that pleasure that we found, then is also a part of our characteristic to want to possess that which we found pleasurable. But again, all of those things are simply byproducts of a desire and a psychology to be wanted, to be wanted from an animalistic place passion. And it's this need that women, I think, rarely understand, and what causes so many men to do dumb things. And I'll be the first to admit that we can be not the brightest of people. We can do things that seem to be done really irrational We'll put ourselves in situations that have the potential to destroy everything that we've worked for. We'll, place ourselves, engage ourselves with other women that have the potential to destroy everything that we've worked for, that will destroy our family, our kids, our finances. We'll do some really dumb stuff, and a lot of it is because many of us are involved in situations where the woman has failed to realize a man's psychology and his need to be desired and wanted from an animalistic place of passion. And again, I'm not excusing our behavior, because again, I believe that we also have to do a better job of effectively communicating with our significant others, with women, to help them better understand how things are on Mars. It's really easy to get frustrated and to go out and do something that you may later regret. It's a lot easier to do that than to engage in the difficult conversations, the frustrating conversations, that may not get resolved in that conversation, that may not get resolved in a week, that may not get resolved in a month. It becomes easier just to avoid those conversations and to find a place that offers not so much of that frustration, that offers a place of relief from that which you seem to not be finding in your present condition. Again, I'll say we do some dumb stuff, but it's an animalistic desire that we possess to be wanted, much like a dog. You'll find a male dog. He can be out on a walk, and it seems like every tree he passes, he wants to pee on. Not just to pee, but in an effort of urinating on that tree so that he attracts the female dog, so that she would want him from an animalistic place of passion. Again, we men do the same thing. And I said I believe women fail to understand our desire, our psychology. Again, I believe it's deeper than a conscious desire. It's a unconscious psychology that we possess that I believe women sometimes fail to understand. And what happens is they fail to really understand the impact that our desire to be wanted has on our thoughts, has on our words, and has on our actions. Again, women, there is a difference between wanting your mate because you're just in a relationship with him, and you've decided not to stray. You've decided to make it work. You've decided that, I'm with him now, so we may as well make the best of it. There's a difference between that mindset and the mindset that, I can't wait to get at him, because there's almost an insatiable desire, an insatiable animalistic passion to be with him just because I'm attracted to him. I want him. There's a difference between wanting your man because you've committed 5 years to the marriage or 10 years to the marriage, and you've got bills, and you've got other responsibilities, and you've got kids, and you've got mortgages, you've got you've invested time, so you may as well make the bed. There's a difference between just desiring that man from an animalistic place of passion. There's a difference. from him feeling the energy of your passion, as opposed to the words that you speak. That yeah. You know I want you, otherwise I wouldn't be with you. If I didn't want you, I wouldn't be with you. There's a difference between that mindset and that energy from the energy of animalistic passion, desire. And the psychology of a man is to want that animalistic desire and passion. You know, most men, I will say, is not interested in your money. You know, not interested in what other material possessions you have, because most men want to be able to provide you those things, not rest upon you having those things. But what he won't substitute for those things is your desire, your passion, that insatiable, energy that you possess, that says, I've got to get to, you can reach me by railway, trailway, just get here. See, that represents, an insatiable, almost animalistic passion to get to your dude. And when your dude know that you possess that for him, then there's an energy that's completely, vastly different from, well, yeah, that's my husband. Yeah, that's my dude. Yeah. I mean, you know I love you. You know I want to be with you. There's an energy that we all put out. There's an energy, and the energy is different when it's not from a place of pure passion, a pure desire. There's a difference, between, wanting him because you don't want another woman to be with him, as opposed to wanting him because he, causes your heart to just to skip a beat. He's the apple of your eye. There's a difference between, I just, and you may never articulate it to him that, your desire is so that another woman, can't have him. But the energy that you put off is different than when it's out of a place of pure passion. So the makeup and the psychology of a man is to want to be wanted from a place of pure passion. And again, I said that we do a lot of dumb things in a lot of areas, but we're pretty keen. Although we're dumb in a lot of areas, we're pretty smart as it relates to a woman's animalistic passion for us. We can sense that. We may miss out on a whole lot of things in our observation and in our analysis. We may not pick up on the fact that she wanted us to take the trash out. We may not pick up on the fact that she was waiting for us just to say, I love you. We may miss out on a whole lot in a whole lot of areas. But when it comes to understanding and feeling the energy that, that is tied to desire and passion and pure insatiable desire, we're pretty keen on picking up that. And that's because it's just a part of our psychology, our makeup. It's what drives us. We can tell when there's an animalistic want or desire for us. And we can also tell when that desire has dissipated. Because we as I said, we're visual, and we notice when you would rather come to bed in flannel pajamas and a scarf instead of something sexy and alluring. Men are visual. Men are visual. Men, you understand that. Right or wrong. I'm not saying that. Obviously, I don't know the mentality of a woman. I don't know why she comes to bed with what she comes to bed in. But for a man, I can tell you that it speaks to a dissipating of her animalistic desire to want to be with him in an insatiable animalistic type of way. Again, we can tell when that animalistic passion has waned, when women begin making statements like, well, you want me to look good in the streets for you, so you can't have it both ways. Either I look good in the streets or I look good when I come to bed, but you just don't understand what it's like being a woman. If you want me to look good in the street, you can't expect this to be done when I come home. Well, for a man, I'm just going to be frank. I don't think most men think that women are attempting to look good in the streets. For us, I think we think that you look good in the street because you like to look good. Well, you dress well because you like to dress well, not because you're doing that as a representation of us, but because with or without us, you want to look good. You want to keep your hair fixed. You want to put on makeup, and that has absolutely nothing to do with us, but everything to do with you. So the comments that we can't have you, if we desire for you to look good for us in the street, that somehow that means that you've got to come to bed looking unattractive at night, it just doesn't wash for a man. And to a man, that means that, again, I've got to look at you because I'm visual. And have you not feel like you need to, or let's back up, not desire to come to bed in an alluring type way, in a way that makes me, my heart skip a beat, and me have to be like, wow. See, there's a desire. There's a desire that men, if we can't pick up on anything else, will pick up on that desire, because it's just a part of our psychology. It's just a part of our psychology. It's just a part of who we are. Again, it's hard to make a man believe that you dress well in the street and you look, attractive when you go to work, because you are going to be a representation of him. Most men think that when you go to work and you look good, certainly, it's certainly nice to know that your woman, looks good at work, but you don't think that she's going to work to look good for you. You think that she's going to work to look good because she loves to look good. So, that we have to suffer because you decide to look good at works, it just doesn't wash with men. Ladies, we are visual, and we recognize when you decide that being beautiful and sexy, just for us in our own private space, isn't a priority anymore. There's a signal that there's an energy that emanates in the atmosphere. And when you decided that coming home and being sexy just for your man isn't a priority anymore, then it says to him that you've lost that animalistic desire to just want to be with him. Not that you are thinking about infidelity, or not that you're thinking about, that you don't want him, but there is a longing in a man, his psychology, to be wanted from an animalistic place of passion. Again, I'll say that I'm not definitively saying that you don't possess that animalistic place of passion, but again, men are almost experts in recognizing pure passion. Again, it doesn't mean that we recognize everything, or it certainly doesn't mean that this should be the only thing that we're able to recognize, but I'm just speaking so that I better help women to understand their man. This is why, again, perspective become reality. And when his perspective is that he's no longer wanted from a place of pure desire, a lot of men begin doing crazy things, like seeking other places to find that person that will desire him from a purely animalistic place of passion. He'll start going out to, the strip clubs, knowing that in 9 times out of 10, he's not going to find what he's looking for, but he will begin looking. He will begin testing the waters and seeing who's out there that will find him desirous from purely a place of passion, a place of desire. And he'll begin noticing those that will seemingly, perception becomes reality. Again, they may not even, desire him from a purely animalistic place of passion, but his perception will become his reality, and he will feed upon the inkling that she may want him from a purely place of passion. Not because he has this, not because he works here, not because he smells this way, not because he's 6'2", not because he's, chiseled, but because she just has an insatiable appetite for him. This is why men will do crazy things. And again, ladies, hear me when I say I'm not blaming you. I think there's a lot of things that we don't really realize about you all. I think in all of our gettings that we need to get knowledge and understanding about you all. Certainly, I understand that. But I can't speak to the things about what makes a woman. I can't speak about you all psychology because I'm not a woman, but what I can do is try to help you all to understand the psychology of a man. Again, we recognize when that physical, animalistic passion, desire has begun to wane in the things that you say, in the things that you do, in the words that you use, in the way that you'll come to bed, and the things that you will say. And when it begins to dissipate, man will begin to drift. Maybe not physically, maybe not even entirely emotionally, but because we are visual, the probability becomes larger. And it's all because there's a desire in us to continually feel a sense of animalistic desire from the opposite sex, of wanting. An animalistic desire to have your woman want you home when you're not there. Not just because she's, nagging and, you spending too much time with your partners and, she really didn't want you to be there, but didn't want you to be out in the street either. But when she really desires, you know how it was when you all first got together. And she just couldn't get enough of you. And you just couldn't get enough of her. This is what guys desire all the time. Doesn't mean that it's always practical. Doesn't mean that there aren't things that happen in our day-to-day that causes energy to not be as great when you get home to him. But this is what a man desires. That same energy in the beginning. And I imagine that women desire the same thing. And I imagine that we fall short on many occasions. But again, I'm trying to help you understand men. And I hope that there are women out there that will help us to understand what you all think and how we can better work to create peace and harmony in the relationship. Again, we are very keen in understanding when the animalistic passion has began to wane. It's like, the song, the thrill is gone. Thrill may not be completely gone, but it's certainly waned. And when it begins to wane is when a man begins to do crazy things that in many cases he eventually finds himself regretting. But our perception becomes our reality, and our perception is that the thrill is gone. She don't want to do this, she don't want to do that, she talk like, just there are subtle things, and I imagine that there are subtle things that we do that contributes to you all moving in a different direction as well. But when a guy understands that you just want him and there's a longing just to be with him, you'll notice, because he'll begin doing things that he did for you in the beginning. He'll begin putting you ahead of himself. He'll begin, doing things that to you may seem like, well, you should do, but to him, he'll know that these are things I hadn't done for anybody, but I find myself doing them for you. Again, you'll find that he's not doing the same things that he did when he thought. And again, I'm not saying definitively that it was true, but perception is reality. And when he thinks that the thrill is gone, the desire is gone, not necessarily because he's lost an interest in you, but because you decide that flannel and scarf is better than negligee or whatever it is that you would desire to wear, that he would desire you to wear to bed. Again, men recognize when the conversations change from I want you to I wish you would leave me alone. See, that says to a man that the thrill is maybe not completely gone, but is slowly going away. Again, we recognize, that you all have hard days. But we also recognize that we too have hard days. But that those hard days shouldn't negate the desire, again, because animalistic passion isn't something that, is conscious. It's just, that stuff that causes you, when you first meet, to spend hours and hours on the phone and to be up to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, knowing that you've got to be at work at 7:30, 8 o'clock. But you spend all night talking on the phone. You spend all day texting. You just can't wait. It doesn't make sense to you, but you just can't wait to get to him. To all of a sudden, man, I wish you would just understand that, man, I had a hard day. Can't you just understand that I'm not in the mood? See, men, again, I'll say we may not be the brightest, of bunnies, but we can perceive when the animalistic desire or passion has began to wane. It's not difficult when the conversations used to be, oh, I love you so much, and I just can't wait to see you. To, well, why did you do this? Why you didn't do that? And you just always seem to be doing something. You just get on my nerves. Well, again, we ain't. Again, I'll say we ain't smart as cookies in the bag. But there are things that we can understand because those things deal with our unconscious psychology. And those things relate directly to our need to be wanted from an animalistic place of desire and passion. And these things send a trigger to our brain that says her animalistic desire to want you, to just, that insatiable desire has began to wane. It has began slowly dissipating or rapidly dissipating. I don't know your situation. But because of our need to be wanted, again, we begin finding other sources that will fill the vacuum that is left when that need isn't being met by your or our significant other. But again, when your dude understands that you want him from just a place of passion, that he could be garbage man to the CEO, to this, to that, to it did that. That's not why you want him, but because you can't even understand yourself. But you just want him, and when that energy is so much so that there's just an insatiable desire to be with him, then again, he'll show you. He won't necessarily have to tell you, but he will show you, and you'll find that he's more amenable to do the small things that would make for greater peace and harmony in your relationship. You'll find that he will begin to make sacrifices that he otherwise wouldn't have made. You'll begin to find that he's willing to do things with the kids that he would rather, on many of occasions have decided not to do. You'll find that he'll begin saying things and treating you and like you are the queen and the first lady of the world. Again, guys are really literal and not always logical, but it's difficult when the bug really bites, because again, there are things that's about our psychology that doesn't operate on a conscious level, and consciously, it may be difficult to tell the boys, yeah, man, y'all going here. I would rather just go and hang out with my boo. Consciously, you may not want to do that, but subconsciously, you'll find you'll find your man deciding to do that, because he'll recognize and he'll feel that energy when he comes home, to know that I don't care what the situation is. She possesses an animalistic desire to be with me. And when he finds that, is when he will begin greatly contributing to greater peace and greater harmony in the home. Again, I feel like I rambled a little bit, and sound may have been a little bit disjointed, but again, I just want you to again, I think that I think love is the greatest gift that God has given us. I think that it's the greatest emotion that we'll ever experience. I think that when you can find that, I've said a long time ago, love is the only emotion, I believe, that can take you to the top of the mountain and can seemingly drive you to the lowest of the valleys. And that's because the word it almost encapsulates us. When it gets you, it got you. And if we're going to strengthen the family bond, if we're going to strengthen our relationships, then I think that there are things that we can do, not expecting God to do for us. And I think that one of the things that we can do, probably, again, I said before, how can you master something that you're ignorant of? And again, I think one of the things that we can greatly do a better job at is understanding one another, engaging in the process of becoming knowledgeable and understandable of each other. And I believe when we begin to do this, and we engage our efforts not necessarily in learning her, but learning the woman species, learning women, and then applying that to her individuality. Same with women, when you can begin learning men and then apply that to his individuality. I think it gives us a better chance to be able to find the peace and the harmony that so many of us seek, but that seems to be so elusive to many of us. I love you. I thank you. I thank you for tuning in today. I hope that you find something in the words that I've said that might help you to find peace in your relationship, so that you truly have joy on your journey, and that you find peace while climbing your mountain, that you and your mate may find all the joy and the happiness that you deserve. I love you. I thank you. And until next time, goodbye.